Hi, my name is Paul Shore, and you are watching the final edition of the first season of The Street Speaks, a spontaneous speaker's corner for Montrealers, where I've tried to give you and your neighbors an unfiltered platform to express yourselves about anything. This week, Montrealers are sharing with me what keeps them from leaving this fine town. Some are sharing stories of loss and gain as immigrants, and others are reflecting on how language has impacted their identities as Montrealers. Also, Skinny Bros, our house band, make their final appearance, and musician Chris Vellon, poet Imani Tucker, and actor-writer Michael Hughes return to the Street Speaks soapbox.
People would
Where are you from? What's your...
I was born in Laval. I had the privilege, when I was younger, to travel abroad for a year. And that kind of blew the soap bubble of what it would be like growing up in a suburb, as a Franco-Canadian girl. My younger brother's a lot more Francophone than I am. Francophone identity more, and I gravitated more to English Quebecer identity.
What does that mean?
And
You're Franco?
yeah.
Your last name is Taylor?
Yeah.
Your father is a Francophone?
No, my father's from England, but I was brought up in the French culture, in the French language, in the French school system. Well, I think it's more in a subtle way about like humor and who your friends are, and he's a lot more French Canadian. It's cool. He just went to French school his whole life and circulated inside those groups. So yeah, and even in the schoolyard at I guess grade 4, this was ongoing subject. This was really important, and you had people, making clans of yes and no, and I don't think anybody knew the bloody issues, but we all reflected our parents' views. At least I observed it. I don't know that I felt that way, but I observed it.
And I just don't have the vocabulary. I mean, I went to a Jewish day school, and French was like on the back burner. It was the third thing, and even the French teacher knew that she didn't have to spend as much time. In most Anglophones, but especially English Jews, were all moving en masse to Toronto, where they now send their kids to French immersion, which is the whole crazy thing.
I can't say. The only thing that would really have been a significant thing that made me change differently than had I not was living in the UK for a year at the time.
That really changed your life, eh?
Absolutely,
Your whole outlook.
yeah.
And how old were you when that happened?
10 to 11.
Yes, I mean, more and more I see that I am living here and that I do need to operate to some degree in French. I do find myself with some people in NDG going back and forth. There's a lot of that franglais or that, changing in mid-sentence, and I gotten to enjoy that. It's starting to become, I would say romantic, but it's definitely engaging and challenging,
But I guess what I want to say, the reason it changed me is because I could not stay insulated, isolated, encapsulated in what a homogenic French culture, what would you call it, like 2-kid family would look like. It wasn't my story, so I felt like an outsider. So I guess maybe this feeling like an outsider for so long was putting me on the quest of keeping to seek inside what is me.
Yeah.
And why does this feel so funny?
Very proud to introduce Montreal's finest, Skinny Bros.
I'm just kind of
I don't know if there's an
I'm
answer.
free associating, but I
Yeah.
think what I've noticed is that a lot of people who come in, a lot of young adults, are having a lot of difficulty with intimacy, with relationships, what it means to be in a relationship, fears around this, and how to maintain healthy relationships.
Is that a challenge? Because
Having-
people are not accustomed to having a partner who's blind.
Yeah. There is a difference between having sighted partners and blind partners, because blind partners are more careful about what they do around you, and they're more verbal with you because they've learned for themselves that you can't just do something without saying what you're doing and expect the blind person to know what's going on, you know?
I find that this is something that has been, that I've noticed. And not that people didn't have problems in their relationships before, but there's also just a questioning of, do people even want to be in a relationship?
Everybody knows what's best for them, but for myself, I believe in love, big time. I believe that commitment is key to riding out the rough spots.
I've had partners that are nice people, not so nice people. They have their other issues, you know. You have boyfriends with all kinds of problems, and obviously I'm alone right now, so none of them worked out permanently. And people have their issues.
Do people need a partner or not? And if so, what type of kind of partnership do they want? Do they want something like a wife or a husband, or do they just want something more casual? Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion about what makes a happy life in this age, you know?
One of my boyfriends was bipolar, and he was blind also, but the blindness was nothing compared to his bipolar problems, because that made him very difficult as a boyfriend. But you know, people are different.
Because I think the getting hooked up in a marriage, buying a house, getting the white picket fence, the 2.5 children, that image, that value that was sold to us, I think a lot of people in our generation came from broken homes.
But I think it's possible to have many partners in your life, not at once, but to think that you do, you know, certain accomplishments in certain relationships at certain time in your life, and perhaps others eventually.
So I think people are kind of soul searching, and they're asking more questions now about, well, you know, what do I need? What do I do to attain that kind of, that sense of completion? You know, just getting married, just having that house, having these things, doesn't necessarily equal a happy outcome.
I'm very happy to welcome back to the Street Speaks Soapbox local poet Imani Tucker.
She leaves him feeling accomplished, as if he's done some good here tonight. He leaves her and feels useless, because he just can't make this feel right. She's tired of her other options, but to her, he's not even one. He's tired of seeing her unhappy, so he'll do whatever needs to be done. She reaches out for him when she's in need of a smile, knowing that he'll break his back to oblige. He reaches out and holds her hands as he stares at the words she can't say in her eyes. She tries her best to keep him at a distance, knowing the damage that he can do. He tries his best to pretend that it doesn't bother him, but they both know that's not true. She smiles to herself as she drifts into sleep, his hands still gently caressing her skin. He smiles to himself as he finally begins to realize he's completely lost control of the situation that he's in. She leaves him feeling helpless, because no matter what he does, she wishes he was a different man. He leaves her to sleep on her own. All that's left of him, a few heartfelt words, and a kiss left gently on her hand.
And people aren't comfortable having conversations anymore.
People are uncomfortable having conversations on the telephone, and that's bled into people having difficulty having conversations face to face.
People, you know, with new technologies, people are always worried, like, oh, you know, is my kid spending too much time on that? Blah, 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 blah. Technology's changed, but I think people stay the same.
And I think as a psychotherapist, I think as time goes along, I'm going to see more people in my practice that have technological addictions.
Can you explain
It
to
wasn't
me?
different in essence, but the look at my hand. This is the difference right now. You sell the cell phone, and it puts a connection. Like, oh, maybe I'm getting a call. Maybe the buzzer's gone off. Maybe I should check my cell phone.
I need to
Has
say
your life
that I
changed?
quit Facebook at least 3 times for at least 6
Why?
months. I
What
think
is
that
it?
it can be really toxic. I think, as I said earlier, we're evolving quickly, our community's changing, yeah, our interactions, but I was thinking our intentions change.
I don't like the whole like presenting an image of yourself over the internet. Basically just like showing everyone the most ideal parts of your life all the time. Too many people live like their life is through social media. That's like how they express themselves to other people.
That have social anxieties and social interaction issues because they're not going to be able to. They're not going to have that culture and that experience and comfort of just normal human interaction. That's like kids playing outdoors in the 80s. It's over. It's not coming back.
But I also found when I was a teen, and I was part of internet communities, and it actually, like a lot of my feelings that like maybe I would be gay, I knew at least that I wasn't very popular at school and all that stuff. I got to connect with a lot of different people who share that same experience.
And right now, my Facebook thread is about more a community support thing, less about putting myself out there and where I'm at. I don't need to be seen that way. I just use it as a optimistic window on the change I want to see. So I'm only connecting with that.
I see the cell phone, the internet, as basically a physical manifestation. This is like a yogic perspective, a physical manifestation of our psychic reality, of the cosmic reality around us. Yeah. So it's a natural process.
Even though we were far away, we got to feel not as lonely, even though we were a little bit like loners at our school. And that part was really nice. And I think that internet still facilitates those connections between marginalized people that wouldn't have people to connect with in their everyday life. And I think that's really important. A lot of people don't see that side of the internet.
I'm very happy to welcome back to the Street Speak Soapbox, actor-writer of the comedy troupe Uncalled For, Michael Hughes.
Montreal streets, pedestrians, cyclists, drivers. How does it all work? Okay, so pedestrians own the sidewalks. That's where they stroll freely as citizens of democracy, of streetocracy. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, how do they move from sidewalk to sidewalk? Well, they cross at intersections when the little shiny white man is illuminated. Always the white man telling you what to do. The other option, of course, is to jaywalk, which is at the same time thrilling and terrifying. Who needs La Ronde? Now, cyclists. Whose rules are you following? Those driving pedestrians seem to know how to exploit all the loopholes. Here's a list of what they can do. Drive on streets, sidewalks, in parks, with traffic, against traffic. Ignore stop signs religiously. Swerve adventurously around pylons, people, cars, buses, potholes. They are city skiers, flowists, never stopping once they get going. Maybe helmets should be mandatory, or at least bike lights. I mean, we're not playing hide and seek after all. Drivers, the gas guzzlers. The start-stop of it all must drive them insane. It's not normal to remain calm when a city jerks you around like that. Stop, start, stop, start. I mean, shake a baby. Do they like it? No. Now, drivers must obey the rules. If not, they lose points in the video game that is life. Stop signs mean stop and look. Green means go. Red means stop, and yellow is very confusing. Okay, so let's chalk it all up as functional chaos. That's how this all works. Oh, taxi!
But first, I will say, like your city. Like your city. Like, I know here in Montreal, people are confused and they're like, oh, other city are better, other city have this, have that. Well, I think our city is beautiful. Like, look at the Montreal. It's beautiful.
I'm sure everyone talks about the roads and the corruption and the traffic and you know, and all this. But I think Montreal, because of, I think there is that bond that we all share in any given city, in every given context, but we can share similar complaints.
We have a unique city, and we have to love it and taking care of.
It sort of it doesn't, you know, and then we don't focus so much on, well, I think differences are important amongst peoples and they should be celebrated. But I think the complaints give us something of a unity, something of a cohesion.
I would remind people about Montreal's history, all the achievements that we've been able to accomplish, but also that we have all this potential here now. It's not like we have to go and try to look for it. It's here. It's just waiting to be unleashed.
But yeah, I think Montrealers have to love their city more and appreciate it and publiciser.
Publicize.
Yeah.
Promote.
Promote.
Yeah.
So this is it.
I've lived 35 years or more in this borough, NDG, which I really love. Again, a very benign neighborhood, communitarian neighborhood.
And you never left?
No, I love Montreal.
Why do you love Montreal? Why?
I love Montreal because I feel safe. It's very multicultural. I've grown up and made amazing friends from all around the world.
What keeps you here?
For me, a lot. I mean, it's the community. That's what keeps me here. There's a large group of people who are really committed to fighting for radical change, and that's really what's kept me here.
Take care of your community, take care of local poverty, take care of local sanitation, health issues, and develop a local neighborhood community-based democracy as a starting point. And forget these 5-year elections and 3-year elections. First, get the community completely democratized, okay?
I think that if people actually felt that we can actually, on a grassroots level, start to mobilize and start to get people active and invested in their city, I think Montreal could be probably one of the best cities in the whole world. It already is a great city, but I'm talking about taking it to that next level. And I think that it's incumbent upon us as citizens to make it the city that it can be. Yeah.
I'm nearly 65. I've been living in Montreal for about 38 years. In North America, about 42 years.
So where are you from?
India. I was born in Calcutta.
Why did you and your family leave Syria?
I left alone.
Why did you leave
15 years
alone?
ago. I
Why?
left to study, very simply.
What is keeping you in Montreal, you and your family? What keeps you here?
Pour rester ici, c'est pour l'avenir de mes enfants. Pour la sécurité, l'avenir de mes enfants, c'est un beau pays. Et puis mes enfants ici, ils vont, c'est-à-dire, ils sont bien, ils vont aller, ils étudient. Donc, surtout pour mes enfants.
You want to be free and nobody knows you and nobody knows your background and you're free to do whatever you like. In a country like this, in Montreal, this is what you get. And also for me, Syria was a country where you had no freedom of speech, you have no rights. It's a regime that's very severe, very totalitaire, you know, and my family is there.
Are they safe?
No. But we get used to that feeling. My father is in Aleppo.
Did you ever have any desire to go back to India?
Yeah, I did. I'd say 10 years after I settled down, I did want to see what I could do in India, go back and engage myself.
I mean, you did this. Yeah. This is kind of part of that.
Yeah, this is
I think
part
this is
of
part
that.
of dealing with that, no?
Yeah, La Maison de la Série is part of dealing with that. Is trying to get this culture alive by keeping the creation in it, not keeping it alive by using
old traditions and keeping traditions alive. No, keeping it going forward, even if the land is destroyed, is getting destroyed. This is something I try to get. J'essaie de m'accrocher à ça.
I mean, I had already culturally kind of separated in many ways, and the nature of the interviews were very alienating. I went for some job interviews, and they were very alienating.
When you went back to India?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
People talk about their mother country or mother home as their father or their mother. I never had this feeling with Syria. I always felt that Syria was more of my child, because what I loved about Syria is what I dreamed that could be done with Syria. And so I lost a dream. And this is it's a very deep feeling of loss.
Do you hope?
You can't lose hope. You can't lose hope. If you lose hope, you don't have the luxury to lose hope.
I'm happy to welcome to the Street Speak Soapbox singer-songwriter Chris Vellon.
It's not a question of believing. It's not a law you can disobey. And you may find it cruel that you're your only fuel to light your way. And oh, brother, I wish you'd see all the weight hanging off of me. And oh, brother, I wish you'd learn, if you ever wanna glow, a part of you will have to burn. A part of you will have to burn. You're looking for the famous shortcut. Hey, I'm not here to change your mind. Go try to set a fire. All that you acquire, it still won't make a flame. And oh, brother, I wish you'd see all the weight hanging off of me. And oh, brother, I wish you'd learn, if you ever wanna grow, a part of you will have to burn. A part of you will have to burn. You see everybody in everybody. You see everyone in everyone. You see everybody in everybody. You see
That wraps up the final edition of the first season of the Street Speaks. Thank you, Montrealers, for sharing your amazing voices and, in some cases, the intimate details of your lives. A special thank you to our house band, NDG's finest, Paul and Chris Carniello, Skinny Bros, and to singer-songwriter Chris Vellon, poet Imani Tucker, and writer-actor Michael Hughes, who owned our soapbox this week. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the other artists who appeared in previous episodes and brought life to our soapbox. A special thank you to everyone at MaTV who supported this project, who remain committed to preventing community television of being a thing of the past, and who've given English Montreal voices a space in our local media landscape. Over the course of the year, a lot of people came up to me and asked me, why am I doing this? Why did I start the Street Speaks? Well, as I mentioned in the first episode, last year I went around the city and I interviewed about 100 Montrealers in English and French about a whole range of issues. But when I asked them, when was the last time a journalist or a politician asked you for your opinion about anything? Almost all of them said never. So this has been my attempt to provide Montrealers with an unfiltered platform to express themselves about anything. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with me, don't be shy. I'd love to hear your feedback, any comments, suggestions. And I can be reached at thestreetspeaks514@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. Look for me in the spring, as I'll be conducting more spontaneous speakers corners on our streets. See you next time. My name is Paul Shore, and you've been watching The Street Speaks.